Chris, welcome to Talent Matters.
Thank you for having me.
How's it going?
Good.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, not bad. Can't complain. I can normally find something to complain about.
Okay.
So we go on for a bit longer, and I'll think of something. How you feeling about being on, this exclusive, amazing podcast?
It's an honour.
An honour. Yeah, I like it. So, Chris from Techfueld, celebrating your 2-year anniversary in business.
Yep.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
We're gonna talk about just your journey, short journey in 2 years, but maybe what you're doing before that. Just find out a little bit more about the business and how you've kind of got to where you're going, got to where you are today, and then also maybe where you're going. We just kind of chew it over.
Perfect.
So you celebrated your 2-year anniversary at Gaucho. You were saying, let's talk about that. What did you order? Let's get the really important stuff.
I've got quite a specific order in Gaucho. The sausage platter.
Yeah.
As a star.
Yeah.
It's always good. And then we're going for a ribeye as well. Bit of mash.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Medium rare?
Medium.
Medium. Just a little bit more.
Not too much blood. I'm not too much of a fan of that.
That's good. That sounds absolutely mouth-watering. Get stuck into that. All right, let's. So business-wise, 2 years old. Let's go back to before. What made you? What were you doing before? And what made you go? I know I'm going to start a business. I'm going to call it Techfueld, and we're going to go to Gaucho in a couple of years' time.
So sort of fell into recruitment as quite a few people usually start with, but finished school and knew that I wanted to be in a role in which I can make money. Always had a bit of salesman acumen.
Have you always been a bit money driven? Always liked the...
Yeah, well, I was selling sweets at school.
Yeah,
typical
brilliant.
thing. Walking home, I've got my pound coins in my pocket, going to the corner shop and these sort of things. But yeah, no, I think always wanted to make money. Always was quite driven by that. Fell into recruitment, joined quite a large automotive recruitment company. Some great training there. Worked my way up the ranks there over I think coming up to 2 years that I was there. And unfortunately that company went to administration start of January 2020.
Right.
So just before COVID.
Just before COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was a bit of a crazy time, and obviously, had some interviews at some other companies, had some offers on the table. One of my former managers, he was, him and his 2 other business partners were going to go ahead and start their own recruitment company. So reached out to me, said, look, I can't pay you a base salary, I can pay you commission only at this time. But do you want to come along for the ride? So joined them. Was there for about 2.5 years, built the business to, over 20 people. And sort of got to the point where sort of achieved everything that I wanted to achieve there.
Did you ever get a basic?
Yes, after the 6 months where we were making money, yeah. But yeah, to be honest, I thought it gave me quite a good grounding and understanding for how to create a business from scratch, because, really... I joined before it was even on Company's House, to put it in perspective. Yeah. Always had that sort of thing in my mind that at some point I wanted to start my own agency, wanted to build my own brand within my respective niche that I was building. Myself and my business partner, 2022, November.
So your business partner, where did they come from?
Yeah,
Were they in the same business?
In the same business, yeah. So he joined probably about a year into the business.
Yeah.
To be honest, we became friends just due to the fact that we were always the 2 last people in the office, and we would get a Deliveroo in, doing our work, and then became friends from there. Yeah,
brilliant. So, did you know, what industry you wanted to go into? Did you kind of have a clear idea of what you were going to do, or did it kind of just go? Now let's start on our own and let's see what happens.
I think the market that we operate in, which is vehicle technology or automotive technology, is the market that I have been building out and building network in for, the past 5-6 years now. So I knew that was a niche in the vertical that I wanted to grow into. The only difference is doing it more on a global scale, because my market was mainly Europe before. So we wanted to obviously expand into the US and Asia and these sort of things, but had the thought that, if we can really be the number one go-to partner within that respective niche and really dominate in that area, that was the plan when we set up Techfueld.
Yeah. And I know, you're kind of following a path that it's fairly kind of well trodden in terms of people will work in a recruitment business, and then they'll go, I've got an idea, I want to try and do this myself, and then some people do it, and then some people obviously kind of don't. What was the kind of the first day like, when you've gone, right, I'm out of that business, Techfueld is now day one. What was that first day like, and kind of, did it throw up anything that was unusual or, kind of not expected?
It was weird. Definitely was.
Where did you start? Where did you get an office? Was it home? Probably a bit old-fashioned saying it's an office, but like, where did you start? Yeah,
so we got a 2-man office. Had signed up for that for a year. So it was sort of burn the boats and see what happens, sort of thing. But yeah, we were in a 2-man office. We had computers, we had a phone line, we had Wi-Fi, and it was basically just, we had our company's list, call through,
just go.
Yeah, just go sort of thing. I think the only difference was sticking to going back and using what I learned before to have a clear structure. So, because I think sometimes if you're moving from working for someone to working and you don't have to answer to anyone, basically, it can be quite hard to not have that structure in your day and go off piece. But really, as you probably spoke with the best recruiters, all of them are just very, very militant and structured with how they operate. So yeah, from day one, it was always, okay, we get in at 8:30, go for lunch at 12, back at 1, do our focus, then finish at, whatever time we finish, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But keeping that structure in the early days was so important for us.
Yeah. So not to kind of fall into, trap of taking it easy or doing, I don't know many people that start a business that, generally tend to take it easy. But it's easy to be distracted in other areas. What was it like, suddenly, prior to this, you were doing, you're doing your job, even your job description, and then you have to, and then you go home, or get a Deliveroo and then go home. But then you go from suddenly being, everything is based around you now. So if something doesn't work, if your emails don't work, or there's a problem with the phone lines, that's down to you to have to fix it. Yeah. Even if you don't know how. How did you find that transition?
Tough. I think in the early days when it was just us two, obviously, slightly easier, because like we're grown adults. I think we can try and work out if our computer or anything like that doesn't work. I think when it became tougher and when I had to learn to manage it better was when we started adding staff.
Had you managed people before?
Yeah, so small teams though. Yeah, really, like probably maximum like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But when it comes to different things like payroll, forecasting, overall, what is the strategy of when this person comes in and how are we actually going to be training them to, be revenue generating as soon as possible. So that was the biggest learning for me, definitely over the past, 2 years that we've been adding staff is, understand how to still be generating revenue for the business myself. Yeah. But then, managing everything in between as well.
Yeah, because it's a balancing act, isn't it? Because you're still trying to, I think, again, in the early days, you're still recruiting, you still want to generate revenue, but actually you've got people around you now that you need to look after, manage, train, motivate,
Yeah.
counsel, coach, all of those things,
Yeah.
whilst you're still trying to do, in essence, what someone would do as an actual day job. How do you find that split? You talked about being very kind of militant in your time. How did managing people come into that timetable of the daily routine?
It's definitely the billing manager role is definitely probably the hardest role that you can have in recruitment. I think any recruiter will say that who's done it. But it comes as the most fulfilling as well, because I obviously got into recruitment because the motivation was to make money.
Yeah.
I noticed, as we started growing and scaling as a business, my motivation and I guess my why has slightly pivoted now, where, building or supporting people and becoming absolute superstars in a business and seeing them achieve their goals and make the money that they want to make, that's so much more fulfilling now to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not easy.
It is not easy because, again, recruitment is very difficult anyway, because you're always dealing with moving parts in terms of a candidate and a client. But actually also adding, employees in there as well, who are also still moving parts all the time.
Yeah.
We're human beings. We're not robots.
Yeah.
So sometimes we're up and sometimes we're down.
Yeah.
And different people have different ideas about things, and sometimes that conflicts with what you're trying to do. So it is definitely, it's a tough old job that actually I think you're always learning.
Yeah.
You never quite crack it. You're always learning about different behaviours. So just on the business then, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was you obviously came to our Talent Matters event.
Yes. Very good, by the way.
A while back. Brilliant. Thank you for that. Nice little plug. You can use that. Cut that up. And you had Jade there and we had Paul.
Yep.
And, a lot of the questions that they were asking, are you doing reviews? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? The room was silent. Or generally the hands was, except one person kept putting up the hand. Yeah, we do that. Yeah, we do that. Yeah, we do that. So I was really impressed with it seems as though you guys are quite forward thinking in terms of having some of this and not falling into the traps of some of the other recruitment businesses, what the traps that recruitment businesses fall into. So I wanted to kind of know where that came from, and was there in the previous companies you had, were they really, really hot on things, or have you been very much conscious to almost embrace modern techniques, if you like? Why are you doing that when everyone else in the room were not putting their hand up, but you were doing that? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, I think because I think a lot of my training from my previous companies was great in the fact of, from a sales side and the business development side and a candidate side in, the traditional ways of doing recruitment, it's given me a real good grounding there. But something that, I think probably since COVID, which, I've myself and my business partner really picked up on is the way that we do recruitment nowadays, or the way to get success in recruitment nowadays, is to think outside the box, whether that's from a candidate attraction side or whether that's from an account development side or a business development side as well. Especially when it comes around account development, I think one of the talking points was, are you having regular reviews with your clients to see if they give a good service? From my perspective, you look in any other industry, that's pretty standard that you would ask for a review from your from your clients each time. Obviously, the detail of it would be different, but at the end of the day, they're the people who are giving you the money for a service, so you need to give them the best service possible.
So why do you think, and I've got a theory, but I want to hear yours first, why do you think that on that simple question, the large majority of people or recruiters were not running regular reviews with their clients. Why is that? As you said, in any other industry, it's kind of fairly normal. But why in this industry is that the rarity rather than the norm?
Yeah.
Do you think?
I think the issue that I've seen in the industry sometimes can be there's a difference between being a consultant, and most companies call their recruiters recruitment consultants. So you are consulting a business to make them better through your service that you provide. And then then you have the other side where it's just simply transactional recruiters who is go in, do a deal, take commission, blah blah blah, but forgetting the basics in between to provide a great service for your clients.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's the best way to be able to retain your clients, and they'll always come back to you. A stat that I'm quite proud of with Techfueld is that 100% of our clients have used us again to recruit, and I don't think it gets better than that, really.
And that was one of the other things, wasn't it, in terms of looking at what customers had used you last year or the year before, and then what have you used you last year and what have you used this year as well, in terms of to try and get that idea of, are you being retained in that respect? Do you think there's an element of fear around running those types of reviews? It's this is the sort of theory that I've got, is that if you ask the customer what they think, or the client what they think, there's a danger that they'll then see that as weakness and then try and knock you on the rate again, or use it as an opportunity to kind of drive up competition or whatever. Do you think there's a fear in actually going and asking for the feedback in case it's not the feedback you want to hear?
Maybe, but what I would say to that is that if you as a business or you as a recruiter are so confident in the service that you provide is at that top level, and that you are doing everything that you should be doing to provide good service, then you shouldn't really have the fear to ask those questions. Yeah. And if anything as well, and this isn't even just for recruitment, but I just think overall in life, I don't think people should be afraid to take on board criticism, because at the end of the day, how are you going to get better as a person or as a company? So maybe it is a fear thing. That's a good point.
Or possibly the relationship between the client and the recruiter is a bit more, is like you said, transactional. So they they don't see it as being any sort of relationship that is going to be retained. It's just going to be a transactional. We'll place the person, we'll take the money and commission, and then head on out. Are there any other kind of areas of the kind of put you on the spot now, but like any other areas of the business where you feel like you're embracing a sort of slightly more modern approach to running a recruitment business, or you're doing something that other people aren't doing?
Yeah, I think a big focus for us is definitely been on marketing. Whether that's marketing around adding value to people in the industry, whether it's market specific trends, like we post daily market news posts about the industry that we're in. So again, it's trying to almost create a bit more of a community within our niche, because at the end of the day, you speak to any of our candidates and clients, they all sort of know each other. So if we're getting the feedback, and we have got the feedback from candidates and clients, that they go onto our LinkedIn page, and that's where they get their sort of industry news from. Yeah, I think that's a win in itself, and it's keeping our brand front of mind. So anytime they would need to use us, they're like, oh, who do we use? Okay, Techfueld, for example. Yeah. I think the second thing around the marketing is what from day one we always wanted to be quite present in front of the camera as well. I think sometimes, especially where a lot of our job is done on the phone, it's quite hard to really get someone's personality. Obviously, yeah, you can get it to a certain degree, but if we're with our team making sure that they're on camera, whether it's around new jobs that are coming out or any updates in the business or any market trends, at least then if we're correct, if people can buy into our consultants and see the personality of the business and see the culture that we have within the business, just at the end of the day, we're in a people business.
Yeah.
So if we can put across our personalities in the best way possible, then makes it a lot easier for people to trust us, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess sometimes also candidates and clients choose the consultant to work with, not necessarily always the business to work with. So if they know who they're going to be working with and they can see them, they can either meet them or have that kind of strong relationship with them, then that's plays into to that point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
and I think on top of that as well, we even from day one we were quite big on making sure that we're at industry events, whether that's conferences, all these sort of things. The only tough part is that most of our business is done outside of the UK, so it's a lot of travel,
a lot of air miles,
a lot of air miles, and a lot of money. But to be honest, I think that's something that even in our vision meeting last year is that we're happy to pay for our consultants to go out and meet people face to face, and we go to some of these conferences and we're speaking with clients and candidates, and they're like, wow, like this is the first recruiter who I've actually met who comes to these sort of things. Yeah. So those little things there to has definitely helped us to grow as a business. So
do you think then, just going back to the other end of the scale, if you weren't doing those things, if you were kind of classically hammering the phones, being transactional, doing deals, getting in, getting out, do you think there's a place still for that type of business, or do you think that ultimately majority of recruiters will have to kind of look at the things that you're looking at?
Yeah, I think the way I describe it to my team is it's hard to win a new client. It's even harder to keep a good client. So I think from the long-term sustainability of a business, it's just so much easier, and it's going to be so much better in the long term to be able to retain great clients. And when I say great clients, it's not about that they're going to be hiring 15 positions every quarter, because not all companies are like that. But if you have a pool of clients who everything about, or as much as possible about those clients, where you can put them across and sell them in the best way possible, and from working with them over time, it becomes a lot easier for when they come with a mandate that you can turn around and say, right, perfect, got it, and then we can deliver with speed and deliver with quality. Yeah.
Okay, what about, I don't know, this is kind of getting a bit of an old topic now. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it's constantly moving. Working from home, working in the office. Where are you sitting on that? What's your opinion on that?
Got a pretty old school approach to it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good.
No, I'm a big believer in being in the office. Yeah. All of our team are in the office 5 days per week.
Yeah.
I definitely see that there is a place in the market for companies who offer hybrid working. But I think I'm speaking more from a recruitment perspective, but for people's development, especially anyone new coming into recruitment, it is so hard for you to be able to develop as an individual if you're not surrounded by other individuals who are on the phone listening into what they're doing or how they're working, or you get off a call, could have done better on that call. Chris, do you mind if you just have a little tweak in this? So I think definitely, and then I think the final thing and what even looking back to when I was first starting recruitment and why I fell in love with recruitment is the competitive aspect to it.
Yeah.
As much as you're working as a team, anyone who comes into recruitment, I'll be surprised if they didn't say that they wanted to be, the top biller or, doing the best call times and doing the best numbers. And it's hard to celebrate those wins when you just sat by your laptop and you just put in a Slack chat, oh, I've done a deal. Well done.
Yeah. And it doesn't create that kind of atmosphere. You're struggling with that atmosphere.
Yeah.
What about then the companies that do make, talking recruitment companies here, because from what I see, the large majority of recruitment businesses are in the office 4 days a week, something like that at least. You get some of the outliers that are still working, that will be working that allow that working from home. Do you think there's a future for that, for those guys, or do you think eventually they'll have to go back into the office? I think I know the answer to this because you told me what you'd like to do, but can they survive?
Well, they can try their best. Again, I just think from a building a culture as a business and from an overall training perspective, I don't see how it could. I think also if we're looking at the growth of the recruitment industry, and a lot of people who come into recruitment, they're generally quite young coming in, whether it's their first job or they're a grad or whatever, and for their development to be successful, I just don't see how a company would be able to train someone completely remotely. If they have, fair play to them. I just don't see how it could be successful.
Yeah. Okay. Next thing everyone talks about, AI, right? That's going to replace all the recruiters. It's going to replace all of us eventually, and we're all going to be in some sort of...
Got your tinfoil hat.
Some sort of Terminator style of life. Is that what's going to happen? What do you think?
No. I take quite a hard stance on that. I think there's definitely tools that can be used, facilitated by AI, for you to improve efficiency of daily tasks, for example. But at the end of the day, we are in a people business. It's not like we're calling someone up, selling a product. At the end of the day, we are dealing with a client who's a person. We're dealing with a candidate who's a person who's making probably one of two of their biggest decisions, who their partner is, and then what job they're going to have. So and to have that personal aspect for everything is so important. I know me personally, if I was thinking about moving into a job and I had to speak to an AI robot, I wouldn't.
I thought you were doing a Peter Crouch.
But I definitely see where there can be a use for it to improve efficiency. But for it to completely replace the industry, I just don't see it.
Yeah. Okay. And are you using, what sort of AI are you using in your business, if any at all?
So we've got a phone line system that we've a new phone line system that we moved over to. I'm not sure if I should say it, whether you've got any partners or anything.
No, you can say whatever you want on this podcast. You can say whatever you want. We'll just cut it out later if these guys don't like it.
So it's a company called Ringover.
Yeah.
And they have an AI tool which is attached with the phone line system. So essentially, it links with our CRM system, and it can pick up on key points of the conversation for any note taking from the call. I've seen a few of those. They're pretty good, aren't they? Brilliant. And it can come up with a whole summary of the conversation. So no more having to drill the consultants to put it all on the CRM, put the notes on the CRM because it's all there. I know, it's brilliant. Brilliant. Save me a job. So it's more efficient. So that's been one tool that we've definitely been using. We've been looking at some other tools at the moment. But yeah, to be honest, at this time, that's the main thing we've been using.
Yeah, that's I think a lot of businesses are kind of went through like a giant hype, and everyone was like trying to put everything in and just replace everything with AI, and then found that it completely it just completely fell over, didn't work at all. And now I think there's a little bit more of a pragmatic approach to the tools that people are using. I did, talking about phone system, I did see the other day that now you've got voice AI is something that's a lot of people talking about, and actually making calls and in some instances receiving calls, which seems mad to me. On one hand, you're thinking that's never going to work, but then on the other hand, you're thinking, well, if I could reach 20,000 people in a morning through using AI, could that work? So it's difficult to kind of see that at the minute. What have you come across any voice AI or things that will make calls for you and do stuff like that? Have you come across anything like that yet?
I've been called by a couple of them.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, yeah. What was it like? Dreadful?
Yeah, horrible.
Yeah.
The cold call was not great.
Yeah.
But again, I think it depends how smart it gets. I think the only difference that you have with our form of cold or warm calling is that we're there to be consultants. We're not there to just be sell. We're here to understand the needs of the business to add value. Yeah. I don't know how far AI would be able to do that, to be honest. And also adding that personal touch, because again, people buy from people. So yeah. I
think there's a challenge as well, isn't there, at the minute from a AI, like you said, second or third or first or second most important decision you're going to make, and to be able to share that sort of level of decision making with an AI is probably quite a big step for us to take right now. Although it could be done, it's just whether or not maybe we want to do that. I don't know how we're going to feel about that. Yeah, maybe we'll get used to it, but it's interesting to see where it's going to go.
Yeah.
All right. So what about then, where you've got to now? Let's talk about that, which is great. Let's talk about the future, which is nearly always a thing that people are always interested to hear about and to talk about. So 2 years in, what's the next 2-3 years bringing for Techfueld? What are you going to do? What do you want to do? Retire?
No, I don't think I ever will. Next few years will definitely be big focus on building out the US. So we'll be opening an office.
A lot of people talk about US. It's a big market.
Yeah, huge market, especially in our industry as well. So opening an office in the US, building out or bringing our UK culture and processes that we have over to the US to continue to build that up and try and dominate there.
Yeah.
And then also the next step is also Asia as well, because there's great opportunity in Asia when it comes to vehicle technology, automotive technology as well.
Yeah.
So then we can then truly say, hey, we are a true global business.
Yes. Yeah.
And then finally, there are a couple of other markets which we've been looking into as well.
Yeah.
So being able to diversify into those markets as well.
Don't tell us if it's a secret, if it's confidential.
Unfortunately, I can't tell you, but you'll find out very soon.
That's cool.
And then I think finally on top of that is in the more medium term is we've built quite a good we have built a great core team of individuals who we all work in similar ways. We all have the same vision and goal for the business, and now creating that leadership layer. So the consultants that I have now and some of the new ones coming in, that we can give them the platform for them to be dominating in their industry in their own right.
Yeah. And the international kind of side thing sounds really, really cool. What are the kind of challenges other than, time zones and jet lag and air miles and cost? Maybe I've just answered your question. What challenges do you kind of seeing with doing that? Because presumably at some point you'll have an office there, and what's the bumps that could come down the line, if you've got any in your head?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think...
Nothing, Dave. Nothing's going to be a problem.
Well, yeah, like obviously the travel and the time zones, that's something that it can be tough, but something that, to be honest, we have adjusted to anyway. Say, for example, if you've got a consultant who is focusing purely on the US, and they'll just switch up their hours, dependent or Asia, etc. But I think looping back to one of the points I mentioned earlier, where we're very big in having that face-to-face interaction with our clients. If we are set up in a location or a respective location in which we are closer to our clients, in which we have a new mandate and we come on site and we really understand what the culture of the business is, so we can really put across our clients in the best way possible, which maybe we can't do if we're just seeing them on Teams or over a phone call. So I think he's really driving that, so we can be, with our key clients, really embedded as part of their HR or talent acquisition team. Yeah,
and you have to be there. It's the relationship which is the real key driver there, isn't there?
Yeah.
What about if you could just go back in time 2 years? Knowing what you know now, literally just, part of this podcast is it's also a time machine. So you go back 2 years. So you go back 2 years on that day one. Are there any things that spring to mind that you would do immediately you'd change and do different?
Maybe make the right hires sometimes. I think having a clear process of hiring. I think when hiring people and taking them through the training and these sort of things, and it doesn't work out for everyone. But it does take up time, which we could have spent elsewhere. So I think now something that we have been implementing is having a clear hiring process of hiring. Yes, some of it needs to be based upon, could I work with this person? But I think there needs to be clear factors in place, taking the emotion out of it, that needs to come in place when hiring anyone. So
almost like from day one, this is our hiring policy.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it always seems like, the area that you specialise in tends to be almost still the area of, that's hardest. You always say like a plumber's house has always got a leak in it, so recruiting good consultants is still as hard as it's traditionally always been.
Yeah, I think the model of hiring that I've experienced before is a lot more of the traditional approach, where you have like a training academy where a company will bring in, like, even when I joined my first company, I think I was part of 8 people who came in at the same time. Go through the 2 weeks of training academy, and then you go onto the desk and go fly now, sort of thing. And I think when that first business went under, I think there was probably like two or three of us who left out that group. So that model has worked for companies. My approach was more, let's hire in 1s and 2s, and let's have some real hands-on training with them. And I think that's our model moving forward, because I think it's also firstly making the right hires, but then also not losing the quality that we do have as a business, because sometimes I could, as we've seen in the industry, you do have some recruiters who do tarnish other good recruiters' names because they're not providing a good service, they're not giving feedback. They don't know anything about the industry. So making sure that anyone coming into our business is trained at the highest quality, so that our quality stays at that same bar. So our bar, it stays at the same level.
Yeah. So that's the first thing you'd do in your time machine.
Yep.
Anything else?
Celebrate the small wins.
Yeah.
A bit more.
Yeah.
I think that's more from a personal development standpoint. I work with, I've worked with different coaches, performance coaches, and these sort of things. Because as building a business, you're always looking at the overall vision and where we're going, where these sort of things. But sometimes it's quite hard when you're going at 100 miles an hour to take a sit back and think, wow, this is where I was, this is where we are now, this is what we've achieved.
Yeah.
And I think if you're always in that whole headspace of we're not there yet, blah blah blah, then you're not enjoying the journey of being an entrepreneur.
And you never get there wherever
Yeah.
there is. You just mentioned about coach then.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you found valuable, works for you, and would you recommend that to as a recruitment business owner, that they should have some sort of coach, some sort of help somewhere?
Yeah, I think, and not even just for any recruitment business owners, I think just people in general. I think it can be, whether it's a coach, whether it's therapy, these sort of things. I think everyone lives quite 100 miles per hour lifestyles, and sometimes it can be quite hard, or you don't really get the chance to unpack what's going on in your head, and where we can improve. And I think more from the perspective of being a leader and a business owner, you have no one else to keep you accountable. I think probably the job as an entrepreneur can be one of the loneliest ones because there's no one to pat you on the back if you're doing well. You're patting yourself on the back, but
or give you a kick.
Yeah, or give you a kick. So having someone to keep you accountable, and also a big thing that I did was almost having an audit of my life. Focusing so much on work, but for me to be the best leader and for us to take it to the next level, is there other things I should be doing outside of work for me to make myself the best leader when I'm at work, whether that's around my health or meditation or eating well. So little things like that. If you can improve by 2% by being a coach, it's 2% you didn't have before.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and you're 2% better than the person before, right?
Yeah.
So, brilliant. Well, I mean, you're a really good example of a success story so far. It's brilliant what you've done and where you're going. So, I think hopefully anyone watching found that really, really useful, and that's a journey that, if there are people are starting recruitment businesses all the time, and there'll be people thinking, how do I do it? And so I think some of the things you've come out there have been top notch, and really a good lesson to kind of a path that people can follow. So congratulations on that. Congratulations on the 2 years, and congratulations for getting through the podcast.
The podcast.
Yeah, the podcast. So, no, Chris, thanks very much. Really appreciate that. So
Thank you.
Thanks very much for coming on.
Cheers.
Good.